1. Roman Holiday, 1953. Picture a twilight Rome still recovering from war, its fountains echoing softly through half-empty piazzas. Into this fragile calm bursts a runaway princess, Audrey Hepburn, radiant yet frightened, who meets Gregory Peck's hard-up reporter. The film's romance works on two levels. First is sheer escapism. Real Roman streets, shot guerrilla style because producer William Wyler refused studio backdrops, lend every stolen Vespa ride an almost newsreel immediacy. Second is moral tension. Joe Bradley needs the scoop of a lifetime, but he also wants to shield Anna from publicity. Duty and desire wrestle in every glance. Hepburn's gamine spontaneity, she won an Oscar, George Stevens' bittersweet ending, and George Aurich's waltzing score combine to suggest love that flourishes precisely because it cannot last. Critics, from then-newcomer Pauline Kael to modern AFI jurors who rank it number 4 among all screen romances, agree that the final handshake in that cavernous press hall may be the single most heartbreaking farewell of the 1950s. 2. An Affair to Remember, 1957. Director Leo McCarey remade his own 1939 tearjerker love affair, but here he perfects the formula. Cary Grant and Deborah Kerr begin as witty sophisticates, fencing on a transatlantic liner. Romance blooms precisely because they do not need it. Each is already engaged elsewhere. McCarey delays consummation, allowing audiences to luxuriate in small courtesies. A borrowed shawl, a shared sunset, a pilgrimage to meet Grant's beloved Italian grandmother. When they agree to test fate by meeting atop the Empire State Building, the film crosses from flirtatious to mythic. Hugo Friedhofer's theme, built around a descending minor sixth, underlines longing so acutely that later composers, John Barry, Michel Legrand, quietly borrowed its harmonic shape. The climactic apartment scene reveal, Kerr's secret injury exposed when Grant sees a reflected painting, turns melodrama into catharsis without a single overt confession. AFI ranks the picture number 5 on its 100 Passions list, and modern rom-coms from Sleepless in Seattle to The Notebook rated it for plot DNA, proving restraint can feel more passionate than any explicit embrace. 3. Sabrina, 1954. Billy Wilder loved puncturing class privilege, and Sabrina is his fizziest champagne bottle. The first 20 minutes play almost silent film comedy, as chauffeur's daughter Sabrina Fairchild, Audrey Hepburn, mopes in a garage rafters, spying on the rich Larrabee sons. A Parisian makeover, shot partly at Givenchy's atelier, transforms her, but what makes the romance endure is Wilder's insistence that real love is less about couture and more about character. Humphrey Bogart's Linus begins as a numbers-obsessed tycoon willing to manipulate Sabrina for a billion-dollar merger. Yet Bogart underplays, letting tiny flickers lingering over her dropped glove, admitting he's never actually lived, betray growing tenderness. William Holden, as Playboy kid brother David, supplies the breezy surface attraction, allowing Wilder to invert the expected pairing. Franz Waxman's lush strings bridge the film's tonal shifts from screwball to yearning, and Edith Head's costumes made Hepburn an eternal sartorial icon. AFI's Passions list places the film 54th. While critics still marvel that a story explicitly about social ladders nevertheless toys with viewers' loyalties until the quiet helicopter finale. By proving unfair class systems could be challenged, if not entirely dismantled by compassion, Sabrina turned romance into a gentle act of rebellion. 4. From Here to Eternity, 1953. Fred Zinnemann's adaptation of James Jones's gritty novel might seem, on the surface, a military drama. Yet the film's emotional core is deeply romantic, anchored by two illicit affairs. Burt Lancaster's Sergeant Warden and Deborah Kerr's unhappy officer's wife conduct trysts on an Oahu beach where foaming breakers crash over an embrace now frozen in pop culture memory. Simultaneously, Montgomery Clift's Private, Prewitt, and Donna Reed's nightclub Hostess find fragile solace from institutional brutality. The great innovation lies in showing love as both refuge and accelerant for tragedy. Pearl Harbor looms, and the script never lets us forget it. Zinnemann's smooth tracking shots, Burnett Guffey's high-contrast photography, and a bronzed, relentlessly physical Lancaster transformed the language of screen passion. Here, sand-stuck bodies became sculptural proof of animal longing. The picture earned 8 Oscars, including Best Picture, and sits at number 20 on AFI's romance list. More subtly, it signaled a loosening production code grip. Torrid kisses under cascades of surf pushed the envelope, clearing a path later trod by Giant and Splendor in the grass. Audiences left theaters convinced that temporary heaven is worth eternal consequence, a message that still resonates in war-torn dramas today. 5. A Place in the Sun, 1951. George Stevens turns Theodore Dreiser's An American Tragedy into cinematic Greek myth. Montgomery Clift's George Eastman, penniless relative of a factory magnate, burns with ambition as fiercely as he loves Elizabeth Taylor's incandescent Angela Vickers. Their lake house rendezvous, filmed in luminous close-ups, faces filling the frame, backgrounds dissolving into impressionistic blur, create an intimacy previously unseen under the production code. Waxman's score surges, reflecting George's heartbeat, while William C. Mellor's Oscar-winning cinematography layers soft filters over Taylor, literally idealizing her in George's mind. That idealization becomes the point. Eastman's inability to reconcile reality with dream propels him toward a fatal accident involving poor factory girl Shelley Winters. But because Stevens grounds every tragedy in erotic ache, watch how Clift's hands shake when he first kisses Taylor. The romance feels central, not incidental. Critics labeled the film the American Brief Encounter. AFI ranks it number 53 among screen love stories, yet its influence reaches beyond ranking. François Truffaut studied its lighting, and Francis Ford Coppola lifted its doomed lovers motif for The Godfather Part 3. Chaplin famously hailed it as the greatest film ever made about America, recognizing that it views romance, class, and ambition as a single, devastating package of desire. 6. Picnic, 1955. On Labor Day in a sleepy Kansas town, rugged drifter Hal Carter, William Holden, jumps off a freight train and upends everyone's equilibrium. Screenwriter Daniel Taradash, adapting William Ing's Pulitzer play, pinpoints romantic longing hidden beneath 1950s conformity. Director Joshua Logan shoots the famous Moonglow dance in Magic Hour Light, letting Holden and Kim Novak's Madge move tentatively, shoulders brushing, until twilight swallows them and gossip ignites. Max Steiner's score layers jazz clarinet over a throbbing waltz, reflecting physical hunger that words cannot. The camera alternates between wide fairground vistas, cotton candy stands, Ferris wheels, and sudden claustrophobic close-ups, illustrating how small-town life both nourishes and suffocates romance. When Madge finally boards a bus at dawn, leaving family security for a future with Hal, the shot lingers on her uncertain smile. Love, the film argues, is worth risking everything even if the road beyond is gravel. Though it won 2 Oscars for art direction and editing, Picnic's greater legacy is intangible. Critics link it to later Midwestern yearning pieces, from Splendor in the Grass to The Last Picture Show, while AFI slots it number 59 on its romance list, proof that heartache under firework-spangled skies never grows old. 7. The Quiet Man, 1952. John Ford's Technicolor postcard to Ireland may start like a rustic comedy, yet at its center lies a surprisingly grown-up romance. Retired boxer Sean Thornton, John Wayne, returns to his ancestral Connemara cottage seeking peace, only to find immediacy in flame-haired Mary-Kate Danaher, Maureen O'Hara. Their courtship respects Gaelic customs. Dowries, matchmakers, and bad-tempered brothers all play roles. Ford uses these rituals less for anthropology than for romantic tension. Sean must literally fight Mary-Kate's sibling to earn not her affection, but her self-respect. Victor Young's Oscar-nominated score weaves traditional reels around swelling strings, and Winton Hoke's saturated greens and reds paint Ireland as pastoral paradise. The famous 3-minute tracking shot, where O'Hara beckons Wayne through misty ruins, shawl whipping like a banner, delivers silent poetry. Steven Spielberg later cited it as one of cinema's most moving love scenes. Ford won his 4th directing Oscar, and the film remains a saint. Patrick's Day staple on TCM, proof that passion can be tempestuous without cynicism. More subtly, The Quiet Man prefigured the 1960s sexual revolution by portraying marital desire, gently but unmistakably, as something to celebrate rather than conceal. 8. Love is a Many-Splendored Thing, 1955. Shot almost entirely on location in British-controlled Hong Kong, Henry King's CinemaScope romance pairs Eurasian doctor Han Suyin, Jennifer Jones, with American war reporter Mark Elliott, William Holden. Their first meeting occurs on a hillside overlooking the harbor. King positions them above the teeming colonial city, visually signaling a relationship that must transcend geopolitical boundaries. Interracial love violated social norms in both story and reality. 20th Century Fox downplayed the casting controversy, yet the tension vibrates through every clandestine encounter on mountain paths and crowded ferries. Alfred Newman's title tune, with lyrics added later, became a pop standard and won one of the film's 3 Oscars. King wisely repeats the melody diegetically. Street performers hum it, embedding romance in the city's very soundscape. Critics hailed its frankness about prejudice. The U.S. Army banned Asian-Caucasian marriages until 1951, making the film's 1955 release immediately topical. AFI lists it at number 85 for screen passion, but perhaps its finest endorsement lies in later epics like The English Patient, which adopted similar cross-cultural frameworks. Love is a Many-Splendored Thing argues that while politics draw lines, personal devotion can erase them, if only temporarily. 9. Gigi, 1958. Vincente Minnelli's Belle Époque musical opens on Maurice Chevalier strolling through a Parisian park, greeting lovers and declaring, "Thank heaven for little girls." That eyebrow-raising lyric underscores the film's thematic risk. A teenage girl groomed as courtesan chooses genuine love instead. Leslie Caron's Gigi and Louis Jourdan's Gaston move from play acting to sincerity, mirroring the city's transition from decadent 1890s to dawning modernity. Minnelli deploys MGM's facilities like Fabergé Craftsman, gilded dining rooms, floral explosions, and costumes by Cecil Beaton. He won an Oscar. Every set piece, from Maxim's red velvet corridors to a jewel box perfume shop, externalizes growing attraction. Lerner and Loewe's score crystallizes moods swiftly. The Night They Invented Champagne sends bubbles through the frame, while I Remember It Well provides wistful counterpoint. The film swept all 9 categories in which it was nominated at the Academy Awards, still a record for a musical until La La Land tied nominations, not wins. Its sophistication influenced later period romances like My Fair Lady, but Gigi's real triumph is tonal. By balancing cynicism about society's transactional relationships with a finale grounded in true partnership, Minnelli proves even arranged worlds can birth authentic devotion. 10 Funny Face, 1957. Stanley Donen transforms a lightweight 1927 Gershwin revue into a couture fairy tale. Bookstore clerk Joe Stockton, Audrey Hepburn, believes in empathicalism. But when Richard Avedon-like photographer Dick Avery, Fred Astaire, whisks her to Paris, her philosophy meets fashion's transformative glare. Donen shoots the opening Think Pink number in cool grays and punchy magenta, arguing that romance often begins with aesthetic intoxication. Cinematographer Ray June then bathes Paris in misty dawn light, especially during Joe's solo dance beneath winged statues at the Louvre, depicting the city as a playground for shy daydreamers. What distinguishes Funny Face from typical musical comedies is mutual intellectual admiration. Avery first falls for Joe's razor-sharp mind, Joe for Avery's cultured curiosity. Gershwin songs like How Long Has This Been Going On? Complete sentences the characters cannot speak. The climactic wedding dress shoot in Versailles Gardens, where falling fireworks mirror budding certainty, cements the pair's bond. Decades later, The Devil Wears Prada and La La Land borrowed its pastel palettes and career versus affection dilemma. In combining academic ideals with runway fantasy, Funny Face suggests love flourishes when partners see and celebrate each other's authentic selves beneath every stylish disguise. 11th, Sayonara, 1957. Joshua Logan dared Hollywood to confront anti-miscegenation sentiment by casting Marlon Brando as U.S. Air Force Major Lloyd Groover, stationed in occupied Japan. Groover begins as a Southern aristocrat who parrots racist policy barring American servicemen from marrying local women. Falling for dancer Hanaogi Miiko Taka forces him to re-examine ingrained prejudice. The film's power lies not just in romance, but in moral awakening. As cherry blossom petals drift across candle-lit bridges, Logan underscores beauty that military bureaucracy deems taboo. Cinematographer Ellsworth Frederick uses sumptuous Fuji color negatives, earning an Oscar, while Ken Darby's adaptation of Japanese folk songs gives the soundtrack poignant authenticity. A parallel subplot, the doomed marriage between Red Buttons and Miyoshi Umeki, both won Oscars, raises stakes by showing real costs of intolerance. When Groover finally seeks permission to wed and is refused, he resigns his commission, choosing love over career. The climactic airport scene, where Hanaogi tears through security to embrace him, delivered one of cinema's earliest open rebellions against institutional racism. Sayonara garnered 4 Academy Awards and nudged public opinion in America's own civil rights era, proving a screen love story can shift cultural conversations far beyond the box office. 12. Pillow Talk, 1959. The production code still banned explicit premarital sex in 1959, so writers Stanley Shapiro and Maurice Richland concocted the cleverest circumvention: put hero and heroine in separate beds, on a split screen. Interior designer Jan Morrow, Doris Day, and composer Brad Allen, Rock Hudson share a party line phone. Their opening bickering duet fizzes like champagne shaken under winter gloves. Director Michael Gordon loads New York apartments with glass walls and revolving beds, visual gags hinting at desire beneath mid-century decorum. Hudson's ruse, pretending to be a shy Texan tourist to win John, creates layered irony. Audiences know the truth, Day does not, yet her mounting attraction feels genuine. Frank DeVol's title theme twinkles whenever seduction threatens to break code boundaries, reminding viewers of the tightrope being walked. Pillow Talk won the Oscar for Original Screenplay and revived the romantic comedy market, spawning 2 more Day-Hudson pairings and inspiring later telephone-based flirtations in You've Got Mail. The film's triumph is tonal. It somehow makes chastity sexy. By turning censorship into playful obstacle, Pillow Talk expanded what on-screen couples could insinuate and what audiences could gleefully imagine, without a single pair of shoes leaving the floor. 13. All That Heaven Allows, 1955. Douglas Sirk cloaked razor-sharp social critique beneath lush Technicolor surfaces. Widowed country club member Carrie Scott, Jane Wyman, falls for her younger, free-spirited gardener, Ron Kirby, Rock Hudson. On one level, it's May-December romance. On a deeper one, it's an indictment of Eisenhower-era conformity. Sirk frames Carrie behind windows, TV screens, and reflections, showing how community gossip cages women. When her son gifts her a television, the new companion for a lonely widow, Sirk darkens the screen until it mirrors her face, transforming consumer gadget into a literal symbol of emptiness. Russell Metty's cinematography bathes autumn leaves and snowy New England hills in hyper-saturated color, making nature itself conspirator to romance. Ultimately, the lovers reunite at Ron's glass-walled mill house, its walls inviting the same society that once judged them to look and perhaps learn. Though dismissed by early critics as women's picture, the film gained cult status in the 1970s. Fassbinder's Alley, Fear Eats the Soul, and Todd Haynes's Far From Heaven directly quote its composition and themes. Today, scholars view All That Heaven Allows as perhaps the period's most subversive romance, hiding a manifesto inside a bouquet of poinsettias. 14. Marty, 1955. Television playwright Paddy Chayefsky fought studio pressure to glamorize his everyman love story. The result? A 90-minute, black-and-white gem where romance blooms beneath fluorescent lights rather than gas lamps. Bronx butcher Marty Paletti, Ernest Borgnine, considers himself fat and homely. On a Saturday night dance, he meets schoolteacher Clara, Betsy Blair, similarly self-conscious. Director Delbert Mann keeps the camera eye-level, crowding into modest kitchens and clattering butcher shops, forcing audiences to inhabit Marty's anxious world. Musical cues are minimal. Awkward silence does the heavy lifting. When Marty's cronies ridicule Clara, his choice to call her anyway becomes an epic act. The film won both the Palme d'Or and Best Picture, the only American work ever to achieve that double, proving grand emotion doesn't require glamour. AFI ranks it number 64 in romance, but more importantly, it opened doors for later working-class love stories like Rocky and Moonstruck. Borgnine's Oscar speech thanked every lonely soul who ever felt unlovable, encapsulating Marty's timeless message. Tenderness is revolutionary precisely because it feels ordinary. 15. South Pacific, a 1958. Joshua Logan again tackles interracial love, this time via Rogers and Hammerstein's stage smash. Nurse Nellie Forbush, Mitzi Gaynor, falls for French planter Émile Debec, Rossano Brazzi, but balks on learning he has mixed-race children. Logan uses experimental color filters, moments of intense pink or green wash over the lens, whenever characters admit powerful feeling, dividing critics but cementing emotional impact. The Bali Ha'i Island set, built on Kauai cliffs, provides mythic backdrop, while Robert Russell Bennett's orchestration of Some Enchanted Evening turns surf into symphony. Lieutenant Cable's subplot with Polynesian beauty Liat and his ballad You've Got to Be Carefully Taught confronts racism head-on. Some state legislators attempted to cut the song. The film became 1958's top box office hit and secured 3 Oscar nominations, proving love stories tackling social prejudice could also sell tickets. Later films like West Side Story and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner owe a debt. South Pacific insists that true romance requires unlearning inherited hate, a lesson reinforced whenever Nellie washes that man right out of her hair, only to realize love is stronger than fear. 16. Lady and the Tramp, 1955. Disney's first CinemaScope feature translates canine courtship into universal romance. Lady, a refined Cocker Spaniel, meets Tramp, a mutt from the wrong side of the tracks. Story artists studied dog anatomy for months, so subtle head tilts replace human eyebrow acting. The result feels emotionally authentic. Composer Oliver Wallace integrates Peggy Lee's jazz-inflected songs. She voices 4 characters, most famously during the Bella Notte dinner. That alleyway spaghetti kiss, animated by Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston, mirrors From Here to Eternity's surf embrace, proving cartoons can rival live-action sensuality. Beyond charm, the film explores class. Lady lives behind picket fences, while Tramp roams junkyards, yet love bridges the gap. Released during baby boom suburbia, Lady and the Tramp reassured audiences that domestic bliss and adventure could coexist. It also pioneered multiplane camera moves in scope, influencing animation techniques for decades. Subsequent pet romances, The Fox and the Hound, The Secret Life of Pets, owe their blueprint to this moonlit alley. But what keeps viewers returning is timeless chemistry expressed through panting breaths and wagging tails, reminding us that earnest devotion needs no words at all. 17. Vertigo, 1958. Alfred Hitchcock called Vertigo a tale of the conflict within a man's mind. Yet its romance, dark, obsessive, unbalanced, earns it number 18 on AFI's Passions list precisely because it explores love's perilous extremes. Retired detective Scotty, James Stewart, saves enigmatic Madeline, Kim Novak, from San Francisco Bay, then falls for her spectral fragility. Bernard Herrmann's spiraling motif mirrors Vertigo itself. Unresolved, endlessly circling. Robert Burks shoots Golden Gate Bridge, Redwood Forests, and Mission San Juan Bautista in dreamlike Technicolor, while Hitchcock overlays animated spirals in the credit sequence, signaling psychological descent. When Madeleine dies, Scotty recreates her through shopgirl Judy, forcing her to dye hair, wear gray suit, and pin back the same swirl. The green neon hotel room resurrection scene, bathed in phantom fog from an off-camera arc light, turns necrophilic fantasy into operatic release. Contemporary critics were unsettled. Vertigo flopped domestically. Today it tops Sight and Sound's Greatest Films poll, its romance influencing everything from Brian De Palma's Obsession to Andrew Dominik's Blonde. Vertigo endures because it asks whether love is admiration of another or projection of oneself. The tragedy suggests when desire demands perfection, it ultimately destroys the very object it craves. 18. The King and I, 1956. Rogers and Hammerstein transplant Anna Leonowens' memoirs to 1860s Siam, but the beating heart is cultural collision turned romantic spark. Yul Brynner's King of Siam, shirtless and swaggering, meets English governess Anna Deborah Kerr in a throne room that dwarfs her crinoline dress. Margaret First's costumes enlarge this contrast. Brynner's bare bronze torso versus Kerr's lace and whalebone. Jerome Robbins stages Shall We Dance as erotic waltz. Two hands touch, a gasp, a swoop across polished teak floors. No kiss follows, production code rules plus historical plausibility forbid it. Yet electricity crackles louder than any embrace. The script examines power dynamics. Anna demands equality. The king grapples with modernity, and respect evolves into affection. Brynner won the Best Actor Oscar, partly for projecting vulnerability beneath autocracy. The film's lavish palette, jade pillars, scarlet parasols, set extravagant standards later echoed by Dr. Zhivago. More daringly, it normalized cross-cultural fascination, laying groundwork for films like The Last Emperor. By ending in platonic hand-holding rather than consummation, The King and I argues passion can be profound without possession, and mutual enlightenment may be love's highest form. 19. Belle, Book and Candle, 1958. Released the same year as Vertigo, Kim Novak again plays muse to James Stewart, but here she wields magic. Greenwich Village witch Gillian Holroyd owns a rare object shop full of African masks and glowing cat eyes. Cinematographer James Wong Howe bathes interiors in nocturnal blues. Gillian hexes publisher Shep Henderson into love, but the spell backfires when she truly falls for him. Screenwriter Daniel Taradash uses witchcraft as metaphor for the mid-century single woman's fear. If I love, I'll lose my power. Supporting cast Jack Lemmon and Elsa Lanchester provide screwball fizz, yet under the comedy sits genuine melancholy about sacrificing identity. Gillian's choice to abandon sorcery, symbolized by lights returning to warm earth tones, foreshadows modern Rome fantasies from bewitched to practical magic. The film also helped popularize beatnik aesthetics. Bongo drums, smoky bars, and turtleneck glamour. Though never an Oscar magnet, Belle, Book and Candle's cult status shows that romance sometimes requires a dash of the supernatural to illuminate real-world emotions. Its central lesson endures. Authentic love cannot be conjured. It must be chosen, even if that means giving up the very tricks that first sparked attraction. 20. Indiscreet, 1958. Stanley Donen re-teams Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman more than a decade after Notorious, this time exchanging espionage for urbane mischief. Anna Kalman is a London stage actress wary of heartbreak. Philip Adams, suave NATO economist, pretends to be married so as to avoid commitment. The ensuing tango of half-truths turns love into a chess match where each lie advances intimacy. Donen, filming chiefly on opulent sets, relies on deliberate theatricality. Doors frame entrances like proscenium arches. Curtains fall metaphorically and literally. Benjamin Frankel's score glides between Ravel-like string swoops and playful piano trills, underscoring shifting moods. Indiscreet's most famous scene uses split-screen trickery. Grant and Bergman appear in separate beds, yet simulate sharing one by matching gestures while phone flirting, predating Pillow Talk's gimmick by a year. When the ruse unravels at a posh embassy ball, Bergman's dawning grin as she realizes Grant tricked himself into honesty is pure cinematic sunlight. Critics hailed it as continental soufflé, yet beneath champagne bubbles lies commentary on post-war gender politics. Liberated women might still need men to admit vulnerability. By marrying sophistication with emotional candor, Indiscreet closes the 1950s on a note that romance among adults can be both witty and soul-deep.